Good morning, Greater Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky, the United States, and the world. My name is Eric Ellis, and I'm President and CEO of Integrity Development Corporation, and I'm joined by my co-host and friend,
Tommy Lewis, President and CEO of Make It Plain Consulting. Good morning, Eric.
Good morning, Tommy, man. What's happening, man? Tell me something good, bro.
Yeah, man. This past week, a more quiet week this past week.
Okay.
I was able to do a lot of work in the office, administrative work,
Right.
some thinking work. I haven't been able to really plan and think about options and solutions for our clients. And this week was given that opportunity. But it's a nice, brisk Saturday morning. But it's
Sure
good to be.
How many more golf weeks do we have, Tommy? Come on now. How many more golf weeks do we have left?
All right. So thank you for asking, because I have some new toys, Eric. I have some new toys.
Oh!
Yeah. One of which my good friend and my brother, Eric Ellis, blessed me. He blessed me with for those who are less familiar, basically a watch that's a GPS for golfers.
Right.
So it measures how far you're away from the hole and all this good stuff. And it's also a regular watch, so you can see the time. So I'm blessed with that. And then I also have a golf cart cover that goes around the entire golf cart that you zip up, get in and out.
I did that for years, man. When I was junkie, I was a golf junkie. I'd be out there with my heater. I had my heater in there.
Yeah, heater too. That's what I was going to say, a heater too, to keep it nice and warm. So, I may be into the winter time, but legitimately we have 3 or 4 strong weeks of golfing because it's cold. It's getting colder, and it's the fall, so the leaves are falling down on the ground. It's hard to find balls and all that good stuff. And thanks for bringing up our favorite sport of golf.
Well, let me ask you this, Tommy, before I get into talking about my week. Talk a little bit about the attraction to golf, because I think that for the people that are not golfers, it just seems like a crazy sport for old white men. And so what is it that draws us to the game of golf, and how in many ways does it sort of relate in many ways to life?
So one, golf courses are very big. They are acres upon acres upon acres of God's literally green earth. Eric, they're beautiful.
Yeah.
They're well maintained.
Right.
Even if it's a public course and we have a lot of folks chipping away and hacking away out there, it's serene. It is calming, with earth, with trees, water, and all of the things that come with that, the nature in and of itself. Secondly, it's a what they call a gentleman's game. In other words, and men and women play it, but it's self-checking. In other words, the rules are set up that the player has to self-check and be honest with themselves. So I enjoy it because I do not like lying to myself.
Right.
And there are many opportunities I can say, I did better on that hole than I really did, or I can, kick the ball out from where my ball rested. Those are lies.
Right.
When you get into the habit of lying to yourself, you may develop the character to lie to others. So the character check. And then thirdly, when I'm out by myself, or most particularly with folks I enjoy golfing with, none of us, the people I golf with, none of us are professionals.
Right.
So we don't get paid to play. We actually pay to play.
Right.
And the camaraderie, the self-challenge, the opportunity for self-improvement is a constant. And once you realize that you have it, in a nanosecond, you've lost it. So that's why I love it.
Right. I tell you, I agree with so much of that, Tommy. And the thing is, golf is like the perfect storm. Good morning, Terry. It's good to see you, man, all the way from California. Terry Cooley's gotten up early to join us.
What up, T?
Yeah. But I tell you, it's like a perfect storm for people who are athletic, competitive, and like lifelong learning, then golf is your sport. I'll tell you that for people that are good at things, if you're good at anything, if you start feeling your oats and feeling like you conquer most things, come to golf. All I have to do is come on over to golf, and golf will have you throwing your whole set of clubs in the ocean. you literally see people. Remember how the old cartoons used to have the person running over the hill? They'd run over the hill just. That's what golf is.
Run through the wall, get a little
right. Right. That's what golf would do to you. And so, but the other thing I love about it is, Tommy, you're right, man. When I was golfing there for a while, I used to teach against golf, and until I learned how to golf, and nobody told me that golf was like crack. So I got cracked out for about 16 years. I was 6-7 days a week, Tommy. I was on that course saying, I'm whooping this game, man. I'm going to master this game. And golf would always speak back to me and say, no, sir. No, sir. I'm the champion here. And before this round is over, you'll be crying out my name. Uncle, go. Uncle, let me go. Let me go. Please get out of my brain. And so, but the other side of it is that when I used to get up in the morning, Tommy, because I had to put golf when I was doing my 16 years, I had to place golf in a place that it didn't interfere with the rest of the family. And so I put it in that 6 a.m. category. And Tommy, I would get up. I'd be the first one to the course. And I would get out there and there would be dew on the ground and the sun was coming up and I could hear the birds chirping. And then I would just hit my ball. And then I'd walk down this green grass, man, and hit it again. And like you say, there's no lying. You're either doing okay or you're not. But either way, you're out there. You're out there and you're enjoying God's sun that's beaming down on you. And you're taking advantage of things. I'll tell you, Tommy, I think this is true about the people side of golf as well. It slows us down. There's nothing else that we do that takes more time to do it than golf. And so when you're slowed down, it gives you more time to think and to organize your life when you're playing by yourself. But then when you're with others, we have a chance to socialize, man, and just talk about all kind of subjects because you've got 3 or 4 hours out here to be participating in this game. So, and I'll give you one more other thing that I taught all my kids how to golf. So my daughter has this beautiful golf swing because when she was a little girl, I'd take her out there on the golf course with me. And she'd sit back and watch older white men sort of hit their ball. I'll never forget the first time she said to me, Daddy, I can hit that far. And then she proceeded to get up there and boom, hit that ball. And then everybody would stop. There's nothing more beautiful than seeing a little black girl with a golf club in her hand hit that ball in a way that just is a showstopper. And so just love the game, man. And for those of you that may never get around to it, Tommy and I, we've enjoyed it, haven't we?
Yes, we have. Yes, we have.
Well, in terms of my week, Tommy, it was an interesting week, man. A lot of things going on. I had a chance to continue to do our work with many of our clients. I've talked about some of the negotiation work that I'm doing. Don't want to really get into the details around that. But I love a situation where I have to continue to learn and grow and sharpen my own saw and even recognize some of my own mistakes that I make along the way, man. That's just a good thing for us to keep learning and growing and trying to get better. I had some client work this week. Time I had a client this week. I don't know if I think it's rare for us to have it where they literally believe us and trust us, and they begin to do their work and they begin to own their biases. I mean, that was happening so regularly in this one session. I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
Everybody's saying, yep, I got prejudices. Yep, I don't try to work on them. Yep, it hurts the company. Yeah. Yep, I got to get better. And I'm like, wow. And I was just so pleased, man, because people trusted me and they trusted the process. And in many ways, they did some of the work that's the unfinished business for our country. And that's a recognition among all of us, man, that we got stuff to work on, and that's not the end of the world when that happens. The other thing that I enjoyed this week is that with my family, there was nothing but love and peace all week long, man. And having Jillian, my oldest and my youngest, there in the house, man, and it's almost like they're not even there. But they're all mature enough now, Tommy, that it's no longer doing the original work of parenting where you're scolding and, giving advice that they don't want to hear. It really is just like a house full of friends. And I'm enjoying that, man. Just really enjoying it.
Yeah, that's excellent to hear, man. Excellent to hear that, to see our children grow up to be, young adults and then adults, right? And Eric, I really appreciated my upbringing and how my parents had transitioned and respected me as an adult.
Right.
And to come into their home as an adult, 30 plus years old, 40 plus years old, and my father, like, hey, what's going on, man?
Right.
Shake his hand.
Right.
And then keep it moving. And so I'll say this too, in shaking my father's hand, I had always had to shake his hand in the standard businessman shake.
Right.
And I was okay with that all the time.
Right.
I wanted him to respect me.
Right.
And I definitely respected him. But if I could give him a firm businessman shake, I am a man, Dad. You can respect me. And I would do that. His buddies would come over and he'll go into the Soul Brother #1 shake with him. What's up, man? I'm like, oh, man. So
okay, get one new.
I loved it because then we would all sit together and just chop it up, right? And I knew my timing, when to jump in the conversation, when not to, how to listen, right? And just soaked it up. And so, my parents have transitioned now, and those are the fond memories, man. Yeah. So I know your children these are kind of deposits in their memory of their moment of adulthood with you and your wife, Judy.
Right. And one of my consultants, her son is working at a company, and we had a chance to talk to the leaders of that company. And it was really refreshing and a blessing for me to see her operate in her son's company, them ask questions of her about his view of the culture, and just recognizing, man, what a beautiful thing it is, Tommy, when you and I get to come to the space in which our kids are existing. And to some extent, they've invited us to that space, and we do something that makes them proud. And so I was really pleased watching her and the company be so positive in their response to what we had to share. Same kind of thing with my daughter. I spoke to her university class a week ago, and to see all the kudos that she was getting back, man, that's the good stuff, man. And I think what we have to do, Tommy, a part of what we have to do, a part of why we have to work on our health is that we want to maintain as long a life as we can, healthy life with our children, so that we're there to converse with them. We're there for our grandchildren and that kind of thing. And these relationships are not to be taken lightly, man, because there's so many people that have difficult relationships. You're talking about great relationship with your parents, now great relationship with your children. And that's a powerful thing, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, what we wanted to talk about today was we want to start off by, I'll tell you what, why don't we switch to order just a little bit, Tommy, because we'll go to the broader comment after we go to the election. And what does it mean sort of to have a Biden-Harris sort of presidency, vice presidency? What does that mean for our country? What does it mean for women? What does it mean for people of color?
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know. That's the overarching piece. I don't know, Eric, because I do think that from a political perspective, our country is overwhelmed with the routine of politics.
Yeah.
Every 4 years, every 2 years, and then locally every 1 year. And so these past several years have been so disruptive
Yeah.
and so energizing, both positive and negative.
Yeah.
With this new administration coming in, I think that there are a lot of folks who are celebrating just
Yeah.
the energy and exhaling rather, and then some folks are holding their breath, right?
Yeah.
So that's my overarching talk around this. The jury's still out, though,
Yeah.
right? There was, I believe, because I'm not very close and I don't really get into politics a lot at all, but I think there was some damage done to our democracy
Yeah.
over the last few years that the new administration, they have a tough climb to restore the trust,
Mm.
right?
Right.
So there's books that we do in diversity inclusion. There's talks around trust, right? And so, how does one, gain your trust? And some people may say you have to earn it.
Right.
And right now, this administration, they haven't done anything to earn people's trust,
Okay.
literally.
Right.
But what they have done, they have weathered a storm, i.e., an election, to be put in place to go in a new direction.
Right.
But actually doing it, we don't know. They haven't started the job.
Right.
But the other side of that coin is where folks say, when someone loses your trust, how can they regain it?
Okay.
So people in this country, a lot of us, we've lost trust in politics, in government,
Yeah.
in the system.
Right.
And we're waiting with bated breath to say, I don't know how you're going to regain it.
Right.
And if you do something, I'm going to keep raising the bar so we can get back to what I thought was democracy.
Right. And
Yep.
Right. And so what you have, so Biden says that we're in a battle for the soul of America. And I think in many ways that is what we saw. And certainly the jury is out on whether someone should sort of hype their base and put them on steroids, or whether you should try to, lead the entire country and sort of work on this compromise, kind of standard. So which is the better? Is it to hype your side and say to them, you're the greatest, or somehow try to say to everybody, I'm going to represent you all fairly? And I think that diversity and inclusion tries to say that we want to create inclusive communities where we value all people. We try to remove barriers so that everybody has the opportunity to rise to the level of their talent, skill, and ability. The jury is still out on that. I think when one of the things that I was looking at from the election standpoint is having our oldest presidential candidate become president-elect, and then having a woman of color be our first vice president, our first Black female vice president, our first Black vice president, our first Asian vice president, sort of this intersectionality piece that we're seeing navigated. I know that as I listen in my own house, as Kamala Harris was giving her acceptance speech, I heard the women in my house just screaming, reminiscent of when President Obama was elected. And I took my kids to a local bar just so that they could be in there with other Black folks. And so I think that, as you look at sororities and fraternities and how they got engaged, is that a moment for us? What does this mean for women? What does it mean for women of color? How interesting is it that the first female to sort of break through that glass ceiling politically was a woman of color?
I would say it was indeed a moment. It was a sea change type of moment. And oftentimes those sea change moments are recognized in the moment, but many, many times it's recognized far after the moment. right? Far after the moment.
Yeah.
So here's one of the things that I've been thinking about, and you triggered my thought here. You mentioned the Black Greek letter organizations,
Yes.
and I would throw in even historically Black colleges and universities, of one of which Kamala Harris, or Vice President Kamala Harris, attended and graduated from Howard University in Washington, D.C. Eric, I've always thought about, if there are hundreds of thousands of members in the Black Greek letter organizations that are service-driven organizations, they do a lot of work in the community. If efforts were combined, not that every person and every Black person or person of color is homogeneous in their thought.
Right.
That's not what I'm saying.
Right.
If they were to pool their resources, what type of impact would that make?
Mm.
Right. So some people say that, of the 13% of our country's population being African American, it's a blip. 13% is significant, but it is 13%.
Right.
When you look at the number of African Americans or members in Black Greek letter organizations, you're probably looking at absolutely less than a percentage of the Black population being a member of an organization like this.
Uh-huh.
So if they were to pull their thoughts, maybe resources, to push some type of ideology like equality, breaking glass ceilings, democracy, it will be a moment, but is it sustainable?
Without relevancy, is it sustainable? And that's the thing, is sometimes we resist the desire, the openness to make sure that we are remaining relevant to all as well. In other words, our angle, our way is not a winning formula.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a point. Tommy, I don't think we're ready to buy that though.
Yeah, we're not.
Yeah, we ain't ready to buy that one, bro. We like, look, I've been left out, held back, held down. It's my time. I'm gonna make as much racket as I can. I'm gonna get it my way.
So I'm still hearing people, and I'm glad we're talking about this, right? Because I have conversations in my home and at work. People are talking all the time, and sometimes companies have put together policies, pre-election day, to say we're going to suspend any political talk in the office because it's so disruptive, maybe and things like that. And I get it.
Yeah.
Right? And so one of my thoughts now, Eric, is what are the priorities of this country, i.e. the soul of the country? What should we focus on? Do we need to focus on the lives of our folks?
Right.
COVID. Do we need to focus on our respect and standing in the world? Because we became a laughing stock for a little bit there, right? We were being mocked,
right?
And that didn't even feel good. I don't pass any legislation or bills, anything like that, but I'm like, man, folks are laughing at us,
right?
And then with Vice President Kamala Harris, woman of color, she's going to be in front of folks who may have an implicit bias around Black women or Black people.
Yeah.
Sure, they have Barack and they have to tolerate him, but now a Black woman who is one of the most disrespected demographic groups in this country.
You saying something, bro?
Yep. And she's going to be in front of folks like, what? Right? Talk wrong, be wrong, do wrong. And I have the ear of the most powerful person in the world, right? Because we're lock and step. It's a moment, in 10 years, 20 years, we're going to be like, whoa.
Right. And I'll tell you that. So there are a number of things, whether people like it or not, there are a number of things that we learned from President Trump. And the question will be, are they even able to apply any of those freedoms that he experienced from representing? So ethnocentrism is really a powerful thing. And when people feel like you are about their ethnic thing, then you begin to have the power to define and create what truth is. So that's what President Trump has done. He has defined and created truth for a large number of people. And he's done that in the face of some fears that they have. My question to you, and Kendall's saying a couple of things here. I want to make sure we get to those too. But I would ask Tommy, is that something that you and I would be interested in? In other words, people believing everything that we say and taking it as the gospel without it being vetted. Now, I'll say for myself, there's a part of that feels good, but I just don't receive it, man, because it's so dangerous. I don't receive it. When I see a people group, you and I get this as consultants. Kendall gets this as well. As consultants, when you go before these companies, some people see us with nothing but a glow filter on us. Yeah. And they think that we're angels that literally are descending from heaven. And I literally, as soon as I feel that feeling come upon me, Tommy, time out. I'm not no angel. I'm not perfect. All you do is come to my family and ask them. They'll give you the real skinny on me. I feel compelled to push back on that sort of false perfectionist view that people would lay on me.
Oh, absolutely. I have no interest at all of hearing anything, and especially if it's constant and consistent. I'm not going to buy into any of that, right? And what I mean by any of that, it means I don't care how many times you tell me. And if I sense that you have an agenda or you have a memorandum or anything like that, I'm like, I can hear, but I'm not listening. Yeah. And I want people to treat me the same. I do not want the pressure of being accountable for every single word that I say. I make mistakes. Even in this platform, having a conversation that is recorded in infamy.
Right. That's
this
right.
Conversation is going out into the world. People are downloading it, uploading it, sharing it, memeing it,
That's
doing
what Terry
all kinds
said.
of things.
Right.
I got, you and I have two different heads on us right now.
Right.
We know what the folks out there behind the curtain is doing with the internet. Right. But I will tell you, everyone, that Tommy Lewis, personally, I sleep pretty well at night.
I stand behind who I am. I put my vote of confidence in the man that I've displayed to the world.
Yep.
Right. So Kendall says, euphoria is cold, Kendall. I can't hardly get it out. Euphoria is soon to be replaced by exasperation due to parasitism and posturing. Parasitism and posturing. And man, that's a heavy weight, isn't it? Yeah. Parasites, sort of people sort of hanging on us and us sort of hanging on each other and things like that. Euphoria. Man, it's hard to come at us with the fresh reality that these moments that you're talking about, Tommy, are followed by the work of reality. That there are people that are set up to just despise us and oppose us. Doesn't matter what you said. As soon as you came on the stage, everything I had, you gave me a bigger platform to criticize. So your coming to the stage gave me another building. There's some industries, some people that are going to come on the scene and be more famous because of sexism. Sexism is going to be their new platform because of Kamala Harris. And that's shocking. I think that she's prepared for that battle, but things are going to look different, and we have to decide how we deal with that. So let me come to our next sort of area, Tommy, that we wanted to talk about, and that is sort of the leadership challenges that people are faced with. And so Judy actually posed this, is how do we manage situations where there's a false equivalence? In other words, you say that your hurt is as bad as my hurt. Your having to deal with reverse discrimination is as bad as discrimination. And so, Tommy, what's your sense about that? Because we're seeing a lot of that right now, man. People that are, falsely, sort of, creating some equivalence between reverse discrimination and its pervasive impact to racism. Any thoughts?
So one of the processes for human beings to feel comfortable is to try to connect. Right? Is where when I want to feel comfortable is either I'm trying to connect with myself and my own lived experiences and reality, or I'm trying to connect through empathy of someone else. Empathy is not as easy as it may sound. Reason why, because in true reality of empathy, it is to be able to understand and experience the lived feelings and life of another person. In reality, Eric, you can't do that.
Right.
So you try to connect the other person's experience with your own experience. And so part of that disconnect is when there are people in leadership, for example, who truly do not have that lived experience of the others who have historically been victimized.
Right.
And they're from a courageous conversations perspective, you have the heart side, the heart is speaking, saying, feel for them because I do. Right. The thinking side is saying, what exactly is that experience? Maybe I'm a majority person. I've never been called the N-word. I think the N-word is offensive. I don't use it now, right? Because I have a new epiphany. Because when I was younger in my all-white community, I used to use the N-word, but now I'm woke and I don't use it anymore, at least around people that I think will be offended. But when I fall into my comfort zone, I use it again. And so now that when I hear someone of color or a Black person who's victimized based on race and racism, even the N-word, now I'm confused. If I don't use the word, I want to have empathy, but I am part of the problem. My head and energy is blowing up. I'm overthinking.
Yeah.
Yep. It's convoluted.
Well, go ahead, finish.
My last thought on that is that empathy is good. I would recommend that if a leader who is listening to someone who's speaking about their lived oppression or victimization, they should truly listen,
right,
and not ask to be comfortable. That is an insult. That's a microaggression for the person who is privileged with the social construct, right? To listen to the victim and to say, I'm uncomfortable by you speaking your truth.
right.
Help me be more comfortable. That is unfair.
Wow. Oh my God. That's powerful, bro. That is powerful. And that's what power asks.
Yep.
When you get because I believe that there's a war going on in many ways over victimization. And so when I start identifying and proclaiming what the things that make me a victim, other people of power see that as usurping some of their power. And so then they want to come in and be a bigger victim than you by saying, no, you saying that you are oppressed now makes me uncomfortable. So that my discomfort with hearing you, this is what you're saying.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
And I think that that's, and so if you don't have responsible, if you don't have people with power that have any sort of character or willingness to be responsible, then they just say, I'm as offended as you are. And yet I have more power, so I can make my offense the worst thing. That's what you and I specialize in.
Yes.
That when companies get to the place where they utilize their power to dismiss your issues and concerns, and they make treating me kind and walking on eggshells around me sort of the norm, that makes the organization out of balance in ways that cost them business. So then you and I come in and say, hey, we need to blunt your power so that you might hear how you are impacting others, so we can sort of begin to balance those scales again.
So here's another take as well, Eric. I want us to reconsider a different paradigm around power and authority. So before I get into that very quickly, love, L-O-V-E.
Mm-hmm.
Love is both a feeling and an action.
Right.
As God-fearing people, God-believing people, we know that God's love is omnipresent. It's everywhere.
Right.
And in fact, when we as human beings express love, regardless of how much love we give, we can always replenish that love to give more. That's the power of love. If you give love, there's love comes into your cup, it spills over, and you continue to give love. So you can love unconditionally and constantly and consistently. And if someone doesn't give you love back, it doesn't mean that you've lost love. So when we think about power and authority, I want us to reconsider that if we are giving up power to enhance someone else, it doesn't necessarily mean that we have lost power, that we have lost authority.
What are you doing, man? Did you eat your Wheaties yesterday?
I ate it last night and this morning.
Bruh, you coming and dropping some knowledge. You dropping some knowledge there. Say that again, Tommy Lewis.
The power and authority that we have doesn't mean a win, lose, or lose, win.
Wow.
Right?
Gee.
Because even God and those who know him, he's never afraid of folks saying, hey, God, I have some of the power you gave me. Good, I gave it to you. It doesn't take away from the power I have because I still have more. It's like love.
Wow.
Right? In fact, power is attractive. We do know that.
Right.
Authority is attractive. So as you mentioned before, Eric, when you and I and other consultants like us and Kendall, et cetera, when we go into organizations, some of that power that's attractive is that we are presumably the subject matter experts and the answer to their problem. So that's why they listen, and we have that halo, that glow, right? And then we say, I'm going to give you my knowledge. I'm still seeking knowledge. You can have it, but I still have the knowledge that I gave you.
Right. Right.
I didn't just give my power and my knowledge like, oh, that's it.
Right.
No, so I want us to rethink that.
I love it. Love it.
On that other side, Eric, folks were thinking that if I give up an inch to you, my power, I'm losing. So you win, I lose. No, it's the yin and the yang. We have to understand those dynamics. Absolutely.
Let me just kind of build right on that. And so what you're saying is, and we'll talk about this in our business, but this applies across the board.
Yeah.
That as we see clients who are smarter, who know more, then our work gets reduced in terms of what effort we have to put on elementary things. In other words, with the client that understands that organizational change takes time, with a client that understands that you have to really work on your processes and systems and shifting your culture. When they start understanding that, then you and I have to spend less time convincing them of that. Then we can go to something else. We can go to a higher level work. So that's what you're saying. When you share knowledge, when you transfer knowledge, when people have knowledge, it gives us more options in terms of what we can accomplish together. So you're saying that as you give power away, then you empower other people to be doing things so they don't have to wait for you to get it all done. They actually can start building. And it's the reason why, Tommy, every time I meet somebody new that's going to work with us, I find the more insecure leaders are trying to say out of their mouth all that they want you to do. And then when you do what came out of my mouth, I'm happy. I'm saying, hold up. My mouth and my brain do not know enough about who you are.
Yes.
So I always have a caveat. I'm asking you to do a certain thing. I think that it could go this way, but I want to liberate you that if you see something that I don't see, or you see another door that you could go in, please inform me of those doors, because I don't want my words to constrain your brain, your talent, skill, and opportunity to solve that problem in a different, better way. And so I think because I've learned over time that as I get to learn more about people, it's like having a new sports car or a new tool or a new piece of equipment. Hey, I don't even know how all this works.
Yeah.
So why would I go to talking, prescribing? You've seen that before.
Yeah.
Where somebody talking to some, I'm going to give a real example. Forget that. I hate with play examples. Let me give a real.
Yeah.
I was on the board of the Freedom Center. I was able to convince the board that it would be wisdom to invite T.D. Jakes to be on the board of the Underground Railroad Freedom Center. And believe it or not, Tommy, I was successful at being able to do that. And we had, for a moment in time, Bishop T.D. Jakes on the board of trustees for the Underground Railroad Freedom Center. Now, our board's idea was always in need of money. So, on boards, the big job of board directors is to go get the money.
Mm-hmm.
And so the model was, I know people who can give $500,000. I know people who can give $200,000, $15,000, $20,000. Who do you know that can give that kind of money? And so Bishop Jakes came forth with an unbelievable idea that could have raised a bunch of money, but people couldn't see it. He said, what I'd like to do, he says, what I'd like to do is I'd like to do a TV show from the Freedom Center. And he said, I'd like to encourage Black people around the country and around the world to give small donations to the Freedom Center. That was the biggest idea I'd ever heard in my life. I could see it, Tommy. Bishop Jakes sitting there in the slave pen with chains in both hands and preaching that to America. Man, you'd have rolling in millions of dollars. But because they couldn't see it, Tommy, they just moved on. And what happens with a person of great insight and wisdom, they're not willing to stay there if you can't hear them. So he eventually moved on. But it's just, it's what we're talking about, man, that you said, let's go back to what you said. You said something about power, and sharing power doesn't diminish mine. It increases our collective ability to do more, right?
That's right. We can take a look at certain concepts like mentoring, our teachers, even our parents, be it good, bad, or indifferent. When when we are followers and we are exposed to power, authority, folks that can mentor, teach us, educate us, we take on that knowledge, that skill,
Mhm. Right.
and it inspires us to question a couple of things. Why didn't I know this by now? Where did you get it from?
Right.
And if you're still growing and developing, leader, teacher, mentor, I need to stay with you because you're going to get more and I need more of what you got. So that mentor, that teacher, that leader is having people in droves follow them. That's how Christ did it,
Right.
right? He
Mm.
constantly gave his followers power,
Mm.
right?
Oh man.
It was
Slow that
never
down, Tommy. You preaching today, bro. Steady.
and let people catch up. They have to go back and rewind it, right? Go back and rewind it, and
Woo.
read the books, and study, and even read and reflect on your own life on lessons learned.
Right.
What was the event that taught that lesson? What was the person? If it was a person, did you only learn one thing from that one person at one time? If it was yes, then why? Why did you stop there? That one person, that one event, that one time, and you learned something. For the most of us, we got a little selfish and said, I want to learn more. Just like kids, I want more, I want more, I want more.
Tommy,
Right?
let me throw this in there, Tommy. While we're talking about Christ. So Christ said to his disciples and to his closest disciples that you will deny me 3 times before the crow cocks.
Yep.
And let's just slow that down, Tommy, and take a look at what in the world that must mean for Christ to love the disciples, have the ones that were closest to him have the foreknowledge that they were going to deny that they ever knew him, and yet he still loved them. What does that say to us today, Tommy, who are so quick to be offended by each other? As soon as you do something that offends me, then I'm done with you. What is the lesson that we learn from Christ around how we should love each other in spite of our humanity?
Christ, as we know him, Eric, was an embodiment of the Trinity. He was the Father, the teacher, the leader. He was the Son, the disciple, the follower. And he was the Holy Spirit, the morality of humanity. He was embodied in one.
Mm.
He gave us free will.
Right.
And that
Oh,
free
now.
will
Right.
is the barrier
Woo.
for us bumping against what we know is morally correct.
Mm.
We can see it, we can feel it, we can experience it, but my free will said, I don't have to accept it.
Right.
Christ said, you don't. From a student perspective, we then gravitate toward ideas and ideals that make us comfortable, right? That we have either thought about it and now we agree with it. You're right, you're right. And now we surround ourselves with other people who have that same type of ideological thought. And then we move into, once we have as Mao Zedong says, a smattering of information. Once we have that little bit of information, we think we can teach. So we go out and start to teach, and it's falsehoods. We don't have enough information, but we don't care about it being factually true or even false. We only care that we can spread some form of gospel or gossip.
Mm.
Some people are attracted to that gossip. We have to understand what the word gossip is
Woo.
in drama. So
All right now.
that's what stops us is first our morality
Right.
based on our free will.
Mm.
But if we know who we are, Eric, in
Mm.
whom's we are,
Okay.
then we can hear certain things of like, that's not from a leader.
Amen, Bishop Lewis.
Amen.
Amen, Bishop Lewis this morning. You gonna get some offers, bro. You about to get some offers to be a pastor somewhere. Hey, Kendall. Kendall says, even when Christ knew Judas was the betrayer, he still washed Judas's feet. Love, in spite of. And so what I say, Tommy, is that how this impacts me. This is at the core of what differentiates us from others.
Yep.
When you are a person of faith, that's not a political position. That's not a debatable position. That should be a loving position. And I keep reminding people of this poem that says that I'd rather see a sermon than hear one any day. And I'll tell you, I think that the church has a lot of work to do.
Yes.
Based upon the political damage that was done by us siding with our flesh over the principles of our spirit. And I would say on all sides, there's work to be done there. And so as I think about the work that we do, man, when I saw these people doing their work, Tommy, I was overcome with emotion. I mean, you and I, hey, this is the beauty of what we get to do. You and I are in the birthing room for openness and kindness and caring about people who see things differently. You and I are in the delivery room where that happens. And sometimes we're right there to see the baby come out that says, I want to be better than I've been operating. I don't want to continue to just be beating the drum from my side. I hear what you're saying, and you now have given me enough psychological safety that I'll own my stuff with a confidence that when I do that, you won't hurt me.
Yes.
And so that's what this is saying. Even when Christ knew Judas was the betrayer, he washed his feet. Love in spite of. Tommy, are we there? Can we get there, man? What do you think? Jeez, that's a high bar.
This is the beloved community that so many of our past leaders who had come into the epiphany of understanding what this life is about. Such a short life, Eric, that we have.
Yeah.
We think it's long, but that dash, if you will, between our birth date and our death date is pretty brief. Are we there yet? Unfortunately, we're not. We're not. But optimistically,
right. Come on now.
We this is what we have learned that life is about. It's about our pursuit for the beloved community. It is the journey more than the destination. Our inevitable destination is ashes to ashes, dust to dust.
We're all headed
in the wind. That is it, right?
Right.
And after we are ashes to ashes and dust to dust, those who are still in this life will only truly have a memory of us. A memory. They won't have anything physical. And our memory in their mind is a part of their dash. So this journey over the last hundreds of millennia is around our hope, our inspiration, our desire for a truly beloved community. That's a community, Eric, that is free of crime, free of addiction, free of profanity or cursing, right? For when we do curse, right? And I cuss with the other folks. It is an energy that we put in the atmosphere that affects us and others. And so the curses that Jesus was trying to break was the curse of sin. That's what he's trying to do. No money will remove that curse, right? No achievement, professional achievement and or otherwise, will remove that curse. What will remove the curse? Love for all, abundant life in love. That's what will do it. But right now, our dash is basically ellipses. They're bullets. It's dot, dot, dot. It's not, it's right now, it's not a birth and a dash in the end. It's a dot. We're disconnected.
Right.
Eric, let's connect the dots and get back to being human beings that can have civil discourse, civil conversations. We can agree to disagree and all those, that colorful, language. But at the end, look at ourselves as a human and look at another person as a human, as well as see and appreciate their own specific identities, race, religion, orientation, class, nationality, all of those things, even tribalism. Look at it and say, I see it. I don't understand it. Tell me more. Let me listen instead of creating walls and barriers in between us.
Love that. And so in many ways, you're also suggesting that we have to live a life that's worthy of a positive legacy. You are going to have a legacy. May not be positive. Yeah. And so when we get caught up in our agenda, in our argument, then it causes us to not be able to see clearly the legitimacy of someone's perspective that's different than ours. And when we find ourselves in the echo chamber of similarity, then we are trapped with people who perpetually reinforce one viewpoint that causes us to then miss the potential validity of perspectives that are different than ours, that may be in fact legitimate. Correct. And if we all keep playing that game, Tommy, it's just war. There's nothing left but war. That's it. Arguments and wars and egocentrism and all of us just screaming, I'm right. No, I'm right. And so sometimes, man, we have to take the strong position of standing down. Why doesn't our flesh like that, Tommy? Why is it that our flesh just doesn't really like saying I'm sorry, saying I'm wrong, standing down, reflecting on something that I've said for years that still may be wrong? What is it about human nature that makes it difficult for our ego to do its work?
Because it's uncomfortable. Our ego and our pride makes us comfortable. And we have to know that our body, our flesh, does not miss anything it's never had. So once we have a taste, our body, our flesh has a taste of anything that makes us comfortable and feel good, we do not like to apologize or backstep on anything that doesn't want us to feel good.
Ever since we ate from real life.
Ever since that, when we ate that, when we listen, when Eve ate that apple for which she was tempted to eat, right? Your boy Adam was right there. He was a stone's throw away.
Right.
He was over there looking sideways like,
right.
Who's she talking to in the tree? What's she doing grabbing that apple? Oh, she eating the apple. She come back. I know too much. Why? What happened? I ate the apple from the tree of knowledge. Well, God said don't, because once he said just do as he tells you to do, and you ate the apple, now you know good and bad. Right? And what else you got to say, Eve? we're naked. What's that mean? It's the naked truth. We're naked. We need to jump in the bush, right? And hide. And we jumped in the bush, and God stood up over us.
Who told you?
Called out man.
Right.
Yes, he did. Adam. Right? And we thought we were hiding. Adam was mankind. We thought we were hiding. He was looking over us into the bush. Boy, you don't bring your behind out of that bush. I see you. Jumped out of the bush. God, Eve did it. We got into blaming. So we took on something that before we didn't have.
Right.
Right. And now that we are naked in our truth of being imperfect and not obeying, right? Our ego, which can still be that temptation. That's why it's uncomfortable, Eric. I have been learning to disregard many times my ego and my pride for the sake of myself.
Right.
To get out of my own way.
Yeah. And so I would say to follow on with that, Tommy Lewis, I told you are preaching Bishop Lewis today. I believe that God is still calling our names.
Yes,
Eric,
sir.
Tommy, where are you? Who told you that? And so we literally are exchanging the knowledge of God, the knowledge of his will, the opportunity for love and humility. We're exchanging that for pride, ego, and rightness, and the sin of me being right.
Yes.
And I don't want to hear God's voice, because what God is offering is the better way. But I just want to win. And so if we're not careful, all of us can get caught up in the intoxication of pride and rightness. And so part of the lesson then that you're given is that we've got to take a strong look at what action should I take, and do all those need to go through a cultural filter and lens, or should they go through a heavenly lens? And I think the jury is still out for us, because the enemy is wise.
Yes.
And to us things that line up, make our flesh. Oh man, I'm feeling good. You know, that's what we've seen for the last 4 years. My boy Trump feeling good. And now he's milling around the White House and doesn't really know where to go, man. He's not sure what to do next. I mean, he's just never, when you've had the power of your words, Tommy, what a gift, man. What a powerful gift to have, that you can create truth for people. Who would walk away from that apple?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's shiny.
It's shiny.
Over there saying, bite me, bite me, bite me. I'll get 70 million people to believe in you. Just bite me. And that apple, Tommy, I believe that apple's available for all of us, ain't it?
I do.
Every day, while we might look off at somebody else and say, oh, look at you, look at you, look at you. No, 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 no. I got my own apple that's there waiting for me to take a big old bite. And what I have found is that I like hot tamales, Tommy. I don't need hot tamales. I don't need sugar. Most of us are trying to run away from sugar for diabetes and other health reasons. But as soon as I start eating a cup of hot tamales, Tommy, I want more hot tamales. And I can't hardly stop eating hot tamales until the last one shakes out the box. I mean, that's where we at, ain't it?
That's where we at. That's where we are.
Let's see what Kendall said here. Wade, good to see you, man. Why do some Christians support Trump, who's full of ego? I'm going to take a stab at that one, Tommy. I would say, Wade, that believe it or not, some are far more afraid of the left and what that could mean to cities all over the country. As I think about the city, you have to help me remember the city, Tommy, that they took over the police department. Mm-hmm. And they just owned that little area. And it almost turned, from my view, it looked like New Orleans, you know? It just looked like, what's that street called in New Orleans?
Beale Street?
Yeah. Just look at Beale Street or something, man. I mean, they were selling stuff and everything. So for me, it wasn't that big, scary thing. But for some people, Tommy, that was a foreshadow of what could happen around the country. And so, I think that that many people support Trump because they can find examples in the Bible of bad men who were used by God, whose hearts and souls were transitioned, some of them, and they were used by God. But some of them, kings and others, pharaohs, never moved, and God used them anyway. So I think that you can create whatever story your mind needs to.
Yes.
Justify your actions. My own belief is that faith is not easy. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not yet seen. People get tired of hoping for stuff. They get tired of believing in a God that's unseen. And so if they can create a story, if they can craft a story to sort of justify why this is ultimately God's will, the Bible itself said that in the last days, even the elect would be fooled. In other words, even people that are wise would be fooled. We've been saying we're in the last days since Bible days. But I would say that that's where we got to that false equivalence. That's where we started, is that people will feel that they're just as aggrieved as others who have been oppressed and left out of the conversation forever. Thank you, Wade. Yeah, Seattle. And I think, and you started here, Tommy, with I love it. I said, Tommy, what does this new thing mean? Tommy said, hold on, E. Not much, bro. Did you see the lecture? Did you see the book? Nick, it's your razor thin margins.
Yeah.
So you said, if I was looking at that, that would not be the wings that I'd like to fly into leadership on. This razor thin margin. You said, boy, and the president's saying that they stole the election. Literally, we got cameras in every election room. In Philly, all you got to do is go back through, man. They got cameras the whole way. If that ain't magic trick, if you can steal the whole election underneath cameras. But what you can do is you can make any case that people are already have a predisposition to believe because of the divisions that exist in this country. So what I have to do is if I believe that your ideology is wrong, what Tommy Lewis said right out the gate is that we have to love you. And that's what Kendall was saying. We got to love you to the right answer. My love creates for you less fear. And that's what you and I see then, Tommy. Let me go back there. That's what we see, is that when we create an environment where we say to people that we're going to love you, that we're not here to judge you or hurt you, then people bring down their back in the ultra, man days, they could bring down a screen and they make themselves vulnerable because they no longer fear that you're going to try to hurt them. So I just think that we'd rather fight people into the truth than love them into the truth.
Yeah, some of us like that, that discourse, that drama. And sometimes it's not even drama. It's just, let's mix it up, because the plain and simple is plain and simple. And then back to Wade's question, I think that the Christians may not be thinking about their Christianity when following or have followed Trump, right? Why? Because of free will. They see an ideal that connects with them, and then begin to rationalize that ideal speech and behavior to the religion. That's how it's always happened. In religion is created as a practice of a faith, right? So yeah, why do some Christians support Trump, who's full of ego? Because they themselves are full of ego. Birds of a feather flock together. That's right. And then, oh yeah, okay. Now I'm a Christian. Is Trump a Christian? I don't know, but we're both egotistic. We're both looking at this particular ideal this way, or this topic this way. So yeah, I agree with 60% of the things that he says. So yeah, that's it. And I don't like them over there because I had heard that I shouldn't like them, or they said something I didn't agree with, and I didn't have a conversation to learn more, and they didn't learn more about me, but I don't have the time and or energy to feel uncomfortable. So I'll follow Trump. I'll follow, Biden. I'll follow any other man, and still moving away from God, still following mankind. In Latin, the word man means mind, M-I-N-D. We believe that this world was created perfectly until mankind. Woman, W-O-M-A-N, is womb of mind. That the woman is the first teacher to humanity, because all of us come from a woman. There's not a single man that has birthed another human being. And for those 7, 8, 9, sometimes 10 months that we were incubating in our mother's womb, we were listening to her. Not only her words, but things that she was taking into her body. Mm-hmm. Sometimes she was taking in stress from watching an election in 1950 or 1960 or 1970, or the stress from dealing with another man or another woman or another event or situation. We were taking all that in, and then we were born into this world and re-traumatized by the realities of our mother's experiences.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you this, Tommy. So when do we know when the response that we should give is resistance and fighting versus loving and collaborating? How do we choose? Not an easy answer, not an easy question. I think it's probably situational. We'll probably have to say that it depends. Yeah. But I think that's what we wrestle with. And some people find ourselves constantly choosing war. And then other people describe or define love as weak. Why is love not weak?
So my response, Eric, and as you're listening, and thank you for asking those who are listening right now, I hope that you saw my pause and heard my pause. And that is in and of itself a response. So what my mind and my energy is saying is, great question. I don't know about that. I need to think, and I want to think in my mind instead of thinking out loud, such that what I'm thinking is not misinterpreted.
So you didn't just start running?
Yep. So one of the first things we should do is pause before we respond. In that pause, we can assess where we are. We can assess if we have correctly heard the other person. Then now we can decide from our amygdala, that little peanut brain, to fight, flight, or freeze. So if it's fight, then that's the pushback. We need to fight. Right. That comment, that statement, that question, we need to fight that. We need to push back. If we need to flee, that's in some love. Hey, I'm going to say this in love. Throw this back. Don't hurt the messenger, right? Don't kill the messenger. We're just having a dialogue. Or is it freeze? And I think we're not freezing as much.
Mm.
In that frozen
Woo!
moment, we
Woo!
may be able to identify opportunities for empathy,
Wow.
right? Instead of always having to tit for tat that I'm
Yeah.
losing power or
Yeah.
I've been victimizing too, so let me share my victimization so I can trump, literally, no pun intended, your victimization. Just be silent.
Oh, that's a lesson for the day, everybody. If you didn't hear anything else out of the day, Tommy Lewis said, pause. Just pause. I could have used that a few times this week.
Yes, sir, Eric.
Because when people are talking, our minds are racing, and sometimes we're like a horse in a horse race in a cage that's just open the gate, open the gate. I got something to say. And Tommy said, pause. That life presents to us complex questions. And too often, we are too eager to answer them, suggesting that somehow we fully understood the question. And you're saying, no, 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 no. And then Wade comes in and says, darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. Wade Goins, your mother, right now, bruh. This is one of them things where in the Bible they say flesh and blood has not showed you that.
Yes.
The Bible right there, man. Your mother be proud of that. And I think that there is an overarching conclusion, really, that you've offered us. You've said, no matter which path I choose, it cannot be motivated from darkness. Because darkness only brings more darkness. And that's what's being presented to us right now, is the option of choosing darkness. And we are tempted to get our own darkness to fight the other darkness with it. You're saying darkness can't drive out darkness. Only light can do that. So as we hear Joe Biden say, I want to bring the country together, there's some people saying, man, forget that. We just had 4 years of this dude doing it whatever way he wanted to do it. Let's do our thing. And I'll tell you that in many ways, I think that God took center stage again this year, because the Democrats, in my view, maybe even to some extent, a challenge of where the platform was heading. They literally had to reconnect with God to get over the hump. In other words, it was going to be very hard, if not impossible, to win this election without having some connection to faith, because that does underlie some of this as well.
I want to share an example, Eric, a real life example, as we're talking and sharing and our community is sharing, very, very quickly, if I may. This past week, as you all know, my company is doing diversity, equity, and inclusion training for a pretty large school district, training staff, administrators, and the students, kindergartners up to 12th grade. And I had an opportunity to present to a class of fifth graders. There were about 130 to 150 different fifth graders on this virtual platform. Because the school is in a blended learning environment, you have some kiddos who are in their homes on the platform. Some of them are in the school building, socially distanced, in front of a laptop that's on their desk, right? So they're together, but they're not together, right? So I'm facilitating this 1 hour session. We're about 35, 40 minutes in, and these young people are sharing openly in the chat room some of their thoughts, questions, things like that. And I get one of the questions that comes through, and it's coming through fast and furious, right? So you can barely keep up with it. And I see one of the comments that says, why are African Americans and the BLM so mean to people?
Right.
Right? This is from a fifth grader. And I thought about in my head, why are African Americans and BLM, Black Lives Matter, so mean to people? And I thought about it, and then I quickly shared my thoughts real quick around, you know, Black people going back to slavery, being victimized, moving up through Jim Crow, moving up through segregation, being called, slaves, colored, Negro, hairstyle. We were called Afro Americans,
Right.
Black to African American or Black, etc. And that over the millennial, this particular community has been hurt, and we experience hurt all the time. And sometimes hurt people lash out,
Right.
right? So I shared that, and we kept moving on. 3 days later, I am doing a 2-hour training with that school staff, all of them. It's about 75 of them. And this is our second time together. And we're going through our learning. And unfortunately, in the virtual space, some people don't show their video.
Right.
I don't know if they're there or not. They have their microphones on mute. So I'm a little bit, frustrated. I'm like, I want to see you. Are you there?
Right.
But I guess it's going well. We have a breakout session.
Right.
We come back from the breakout session, and I have a private inbox message. And it says, Mr. Lewis, you misread the comment that the fifth grader shared with you a couple of days ago. The comment was, why are people so mean to African Americans and the Black Lives Movement?
Oh.
I read it, Eric, and I'm doing the training, and I'm thinking, oh my God.
Right.
And at the end of the comment, it said, the teacher said, the student was devastated that you misread her question. And a knot got in my gut, in my throat. That was not my intention. I did not know that I misread it. In fact, I was 100% right that I read it correctly.
Right.
Eric, I didn't.
Right.
So what did I do? I allowed the folks to continue in their readout. They had come back from the breakout session. I was emotionally hijacked, so I'm looking at the little camera like,
Right.
because I'm not really listening to them.
Right.
I'm like, oh my God.
Go back there. Right.
So in that pause, what I decided to do in the moment, I need to say something. There was a teacher that just gave me a comment, and I explained, not the teacher, I didn't give the name.
Right.
I explained the situation, and I said, principal, so-and-so, staff, if there is an opportunity for Tommy Lewis to apologize to that young person and the fifth grade class, please allow me that opportunity. In fact, I think we have another 1-hour session in the spring. I will remember this, and I will apologize. That was not my intention.
Right.
My intention does not matter at all. It doesn't matter what I intended.
Right.
It's the impact. And the impact is that a young person who's a student, a follower of a leader, was hurt based on my words, my misinterpretation. So as the leader, I need to say, I made a mistake. I think we need more leaders. I'm not just trying to say that to pat myself on the back or blow my own trumpet. We need more leaders to stand in front of everyone to say, my bad.
Right.
Because why? I think that there are more people who are hurting and dying emotionally and psychologically than people who are dying physically. COVID is one. We have lost too many real lives, physical lives, but how many of the survivors, us, are absolutely traumatized over the last 10 months of leaders not addressing the real disease and virus? Tommy Lewis is not going to be a virus to create an event for fifth graders to say, Black folks don't listen and Black leaders don't listen, because the Black leader that was in front of my class absolutely misread my question. I was trying to ask, why do people treat Black folks wrong? Those are two different questions. I missed the opportunity, E.
Bruh, you said don't be a virus. Don't allow yourself to be a virus. Come up with the cure. Come up with the vaccine against you being a virus. Forget, and that is the lesson. One of the first lessons that God ever taught me. I gave my life to God. I'm going around the church. I'm looking around, hypocrites everywhere.
Yeah.
God was like, whoa, time out, bruh. He said, Joe, you got awfully good resolution in them eyes for the ailments and problems of others. I need you, Tommy, that's how God be speaking. I mean, come on now. You know how God be talking. He said, I need you to do a little bit better job than all this train wreck of a life you got. He said, this is a hospital. And guess what? I was like, guess what? In word, you in it.
Yeah.
Me? I'm in it. That's what you're telling us, Tommy. Tommy, you are telling us collectively, get off your high horse. Stop being a virus.
Stop being a virus.
Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that.
Yep.
And so we've got to bring light. Well, Trump said it, the light that can come into the body, you know. I'm sorry. Trump, people, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say it. He was just telling a joke. That's what he said. Okay. I'm sorry, I had to get that one in. But the day of learning, and we now see the power of light inside of one's mind, and maybe even in your body.
Hey.
My man, when you're gone, baby, I'm gonna miss you, because he would give us at least one of them. You know, every other week he gives us one of them things like that.
Oh, he gave us material now. He gave us material, right?
And he's got great love. He's rivaling Reagan and all the other greatest presidents.
Yep.
And guess what? You can either laugh at that or you can learn.
You can learn.
You either can laugh or you can learn. But you cannot sneeze or dismiss that heart attack that you was about to get.
Yep.
On election night when his 70 million showed up. Learn something. Either learn something or just remain ignorant. You can either be aggrieved or you can learn. And Tommy, as painful as some of the lessons are, and as well developed as our opposing script is, it's not the full story. And unless you work to get more of the full story, you'll never, ever be a transformational leader.
That's where we're going to end today, right? Eric, we're going to be the light. Even if we have to take out our phones and show the flashlight and just start shining it on people so we can start healing them. We had a leader, again, tell us that. So we want to just inject some light in them. Just shine the light on them, E. Just like, what are you doing? I'm healing you. I'm healing you.
Right. Just run this up and down, and then do like this. Run it like this. That is it. And the beautiful part about what you and I do, Tommy, is that we really are like acrobats operating without a net. We come to these conversations with a plan, but we're always leaving room for God to find his way in the midst. And as we do that, it kind of confounds us, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
And it's helped by our community participating. And what that says then is that as all of us begin to come to a place of community, there's more opportunity for that light to find its way to visibility. Tom, I've enjoyed this. If you want to, Tommy, how can they find you? If they want to reach out and touch Tommy Lewis, Tommy and I did a joint thing with a client, a construction company. They called me up to tell me how much they love Tommy. I'm so glad to have my brother and my partner working with me. And I was so grateful to hear from a client, a prospective client, that can see the brilliance and wisdom that you bring to the table. Tommy, how can people reach you if they're looking to contact you?
Yeah, thank you, Eric. Again, you can reach me by telephone, 513-421-2300, or you can email me at info@mipcllc.com. Looking forward to talking with you all and continue to work in this space of DE&I.
Absolutely. If you want to reach me, again, Eric Ellis, President, CEO of Integrity Development, you can call me at 513-874-6836. If you want to email me, it's Eric Ellis at integritydev, short for development, DEV.com. For those of you that join us in our community, Kendall Wright, William Brown, Wade Goin, all of you, all put your contact information in there too. These are brilliant people over here. We got a number of D&I consultants over here that do great work, and I want you to be able to access them. Kendall, give them your website so that they can find their way to you, because these are all great individuals, and we want you to reach out. We need an army of people that do what we do, and we're so glad that you decided to join us on this Saturday. Make it a great week, and we'll see you next week for another installment of Diversity Conversations. Take care now.
Yes, sir.
And I'll see you tonight, Tommy.
Yes, sir. All right, E.
All right.